What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Max Marquee Matchup Week 11 edition. I am excited. We have a great slate of football coming up here on Sunday. Obviously, got started with the Thursday night football game with Commanders versus the Eagles. This is a week of really top 10 teams in the National Football League. You know, if they're ranking them, but you can look at the standings all the same and say we've got some great Sunday games on tap. Obviously, Ravens and Steelers. And the highlight will be CBS 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, of course, in Orchard Park, the Chiefs at the Bills to see, who's going to be starting off as far as this one seed race is concerned. I'm extremely excited for this. And we have to have a returning guest coming on here to talk about his Bills, Mr. Ben from the Mafia Members Podcast. Happy to have you back on, Ben. How you feeling today? How you feeling about this elite matchup that we're about to get into, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. It's this is the game that we all circle at the beginning of the year on schedule release day. This is what we look forward to because we know the implications of it later on in the season, and this is the highlight of the regular season. We could. If we went 1-16, but the one win was Kansas City, I'll take that. I'll take that as a successful season for the Bills.
Hey, look, I completely understand. Like you said, this is the game you circle when you look at the schedule release and say, when are you playing that other elite talent in the National Football League in a game that you always know is going to have, implications for the AFC standings? I know obviously some people coming into the year had a level of doubt when it comes to the Bills. Personally, I didn't because number 17 was still under quarterback from that standpoint. You guys still had a really good defensive coach hitting up that side of the ball. You guys still had talent that really fit the schemes in which you guys wanted to implement as well. You've had a few guys step up. And so this before the year was going to be one of those games that I knew was going to have standings implications for what ultimately both of our goals were going to be as far as the regular season is concerned, not only just to win the division, but to be that top seed in the American Football Conference and be the team that gets home field advantage leading up to the Super Bowl, to say the least. So I'm looking forward to this game. I'm extremely excited. This is one of those things where you hear that CBS music get going. You hear Jim Nantz say, "Hello, friends." Tony Romo's going to come in with something wild to say after that. And you're getting a great matchup between two great teams and two elite quarterbacks, to say the least. So yeah. I'm extremely excited about it as well.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, that, it's kind of similar to what happened a couple years ago when Tyreek left Kansas City. And they're like, "Oh, can the Chiefs still do it? Can the Chiefs still do it?" And me as a Bills fan watching them, I'm like, "Yeah, but they still have Mahomes." They're not going to fall off. They have Mahomes. They still have Andy Reid. They still have a great defense out there. So, everyone we knew coming into the season that we're still the favorites in the division, and so we're going to finish in that top four, and then it's going to be seeding wise after that. So, yeah, definitely lots of implications in this game for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And, it's just one of those things where us and the dominance that you guys have had in the AFC East since Josh Allen has gotten there, the dominance that we've had in the AFC West, even predating Patrick Mahomes, but specifically since Mahomes has gotten here, this is going to be a yearly matchup. And because of the continued dominance that I expected, and certainly you did as well, to stay on top of your AFC and AFC East in that standpoint, that this was going to, again, have those standings kind of implications.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
No time soon. No, this is a decade, plus 15 years, man. We're gonna right back here for the next 15 years, to say the least. So I'm glad you started off kind of talking about some of those doubts, obviously, that you guys face. Look, again, like I said, I thought that you guys were going to be the class of division once again because you had 17 and you had everything around him that needed to be done, obviously, after the trade of Stephon Diggs. To be able to continue those things, of course, it takes the rotating cast of characters, for lack of a better term, and guys stepping up. And you guys have had a few of those on each side of the ball. But what I kind of want to start off is just talk about kind of the history of Bills and Chiefs, at least from a recent memory from this standpoint, within the last 30 years. And I think it's an interesting parallel from the 90s in which you were the guys, the class of the AFC, going to 4 straight Super Bowls, of course, with Kelly, with those great teams that you had, Bruce Smith, great players on both sides of the ball, of course. And the Chiefs, on the other hand, were a team that was good and can be really good at times, but not necessarily being able to get over that hump. Obviously, in 91, losing with Steve DeBerg, in the divisional round, and then losing in 93, which was one of the most heartbreaking losses for a lot of Chiefs fans of a certain generation, versus Kelly, of course, when we had Joe Montana and we thought that we were going to be able to get over that hump because we finally had a quarterback that you thought could see eye to eye with that guy, of course. And so now fast forwarding where the script has flipped, in which the Chiefs are kind of the class of the AFC, have been the team that have won those playoff matchups. Obviously, the last 3 times in which the Bills have matched up. Still, even so, the Bills have that quarterback that they feel like can stand eye to eye with Patrick Mahomes on any given Sunday. And we've seen him do so, even in the biggest of moments, whether it's the 13 seconds game. And also, I think that he had an excellent game last year in the divisional round as well in Buffalo. So talk to me a little bit about kind of where you look at the history of the Bills and Chiefs in a modern sense, but also you can look at it in our franchise's history and how you feel like this time moving forward, not necessarily what we will see in the playoffs, which of course we'll see down the line, but specifically for this matchup on Sunday may end up being different because of some of those different cast of characters now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was born in 88, so I don't really remember the 91 and the 93 seasons all that well. But so my history of the Chiefs is just I hate you guys, man. Like everything about you guys I hate, because it's just I only have the recent history. I don't have the old history where we used to beat you guys. But it's funny though, because I was looking into it, and in that 93 season was the last time that we started 8-2. And to get to 8-2, we beat the Indianapolis Colts to get to 8-2, and then we lost to you guys in the regular season the following week. But then we beat you in the AFC Championship game to get to the Super Bowl. So I don't know if you believe in manifesting or not, but I'm totally okay with a loss this weekend if it means a win in the championship game.
Well, look, I've said this in the past. To the flip side, look, I'm okay if we lose to the Buffalo Bills every single year. If that happens in the regular season, that's fine. And we end up beating you guys in the regular season, that's cool. Hey, look, I completely understand. Sometimes you got to look for those signs. We certainly do as sports fans. That's kind of what makes it fun to look for that.
So we're hoping history repeats itself this year.
Absolutely. I don't blame you one bit. So obviously, this is a history kind of told through the quarterbacks, in my opinion. And there's always the conversation of trying to make a one-to-one comparison to, Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, or Tom Brady and ex-quarterback, et cetera. Now that Patrick Mahomes is in this place where he's kind of chasing ghosts, for lack of a better term, within his legacy of that standpoint. And the comparison that I make when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen is kind of the Brady to Breeze aspect of it, where not necessarily that I don't think that Josh Allen is worthy of Peyton Manning comparisons, from the standpoint of I think Josh Allen is an amazing talent and an alien within the National Football League. But so from the simple fact of this is a guy that hasn't necessarily had the individual accolades, the MVPs, that would suggest that this is an elite quarterback, even though we know with the eye test we know that he is, the same way that we saw that Drew Brees was an elite quarterback. And he's kind of chasing a similar thing to what Josh Allen is right now, is trying to break the curse of what was a city that has gone through a lot of heartbreak in the past, not necessarily found a way to get it done necessarily in February. And now Josh Allen is on that same pathway of being able to deliver a franchise its first Lombardi trophy. So talk to me a little bit just specifically from the comparison of these two quarterbacks. And one thing that I've always said, I never blame any type of Buffalo fan or a Baltimore fan or a Cincinnati fan is saying I wouldn't trade my guy for Patrick Mahomes, because those are guys that can stand toe-to-toe on any given Sunday with them and are deserving to be kind of identities of the city as well. So speak to me a little bit about what Josh Allen means to Buffalo and this pursuit of bringing that first Lombardi trophy to Buffalo.
Oh, man. Him, like, there's few players, I think, that, like, that can match kind of what he's meant to the city and what he's brought to the city, because it was really bleak, man. Like it was tough to get up and say, like to start watching football at 1:00 on Sunday, because we never had any primetime games. Nobody ever watched or cared about our city. So it was tough to get up in the morning on Sunday and, sit in front of the TV and watch. Your team's going to lose. So you're out of it, but halfway through the second quarter, you're only winning 3 or 4 games a year. Brady's beaten down on us every other weekend. And, so he comes in and he brings this like breath of energy. It was kind of like, it kind of made it okay to be a Bills fan again, and he kind of gave us like a sense of pride in cheering for the team, and so that, like, as far as what he means to the city, it's almost like immeasurable, because he not only does he give us a chance to win a Super Bowl every single year, he also has brought back like the life into the stadium. Like, I remember going to games when I was a kid or in my teenage years and being like, it was just a game that I wanted to go see and watch the Bills play. Now when I go, it's like the whole parking lot is filled, people jumping through tables, people, last year we had guys sacrificing themselves into the pit of the new stadium. Like, it's just the whole vibe around the whole team is different. The whole team has life, and it all came from this Brandon Beane, Sean McDermott, and Josh Allen era, and it's just fun to be a part of. But I will say, in the comparison to Drew Brees, if Josh Allen is just a one and done, we obviously hope for more. But if he is just one, that's all we need. We just need the one Super Bowl, just so that because that's the number one comment that you get as a Bills fan. As soon as you try and say, "Oh, Josh Allen is good," or "Our team is we're still a good team," the first thing is zero rings. So it's like, you have Jets fans who will try and flaunt a ring from 1969. You're like, "Hey man, come on." That doesn't even count. The 3 years ago, it wasn't even the NFL, man. 3 years before your championship, it wasn't even the NFL, and the Bills won when it wasn't the NFL. So, yeah, it's just awesome it's brought being a football fan fun again.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you talk about, that energy around the city is real. It's something that I talk about what Patrick Mahomes has done for Kansas City, and it's made it kind of a centerpiece of because every single Sunday or Thursday or whenever, the Chiefs are playing, they are the centerpiece of not just, just the sports world, but the entire like TV viewing public. And yeah, that bringing those eyeballs is certainly a different level. And certainly for those loyal fans that have gone to those games and seen it when it's necessarily at that, lower energy, when you don't feel like you're competing for a championship, compared to now where it's at a level in which you feel like every single Sunday you have a chance not only to win, but to have an important win on the path to something great that you'll remember for the rest of your life, for sure. And it's an awesome feeling. And, this game is the height of that feeling in the regular season, where you have an undefeated 9-0 team for the Chiefs coming in as defending champions. Rematch in a playoff game last year that was really exciting as well. A back and forth contest going up against an 8-2 Bills team that now is hunting for that one seed, looking to solidify its place atop of the AFC East once again. And I'm excited for this matchup, certainly from this standpoint. And so we'll start kind of with the Chiefs offense versus a Bills defense that has maintained a level of play, in my personal opinion, that I think is, worthy of being commended. Once again, Sean McDermott doing a good job at leading that side of the ball and really having some players step up as well, which I think is important to highlight from that standpoint. And so as I look at it from our side of the ball, I think that the important thing in which we've been able to do is really, again, run the ball on early downs, getting to those third downs that are manageable, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 3, in a different manner from other teams in which those third downs maybe are a little bit longer and difficult to convert. And then the aspects of Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes' mind melt, now adding DeAndre Hopkins and his ability really to beat zone on a consistent basis, and his hands and physicality that Mahomes can trust. And then, of course, the abilities to either run the ball or have Patrick Mahomes scramble for the first down if all else fails as well, has been a formula that has worked in the past, certainly from our standpoint. I think there are aspects in which the Bills, kind of are middle of the pack as far as rush EPA per play on early downs. So that plays into our hand. You guys are on 19th as far as 3rd and 4th down success rate. Again, that also plays into our hand. But there are aspects in which you guys have had people step up, whether it's a Gregory Rousseau, who's in a contract year. Obviously, Christian Benford is playing like one of the best corners in the National Football League. His matchup is going to be incredibly key, how you guys choose to use him as well, to try and trip us up in a similar way in which the Broncos did, which they were extremely stout on early downs to stop the run and put us in a little bit more difficult circumstances. And then they attacked our left tackle situation, obviously with Kingsley brought back back into the lineup with Wanya Morris getting injured and then coming back. They were able to really get after us before and play some really tight man coverage with Patrick Surtain in the group. So my question to you is, how do you think that you guys will fare, especially on those early downs? And how are you going to be able to use some of those guys that have really stepped up this year, whether it's a Rousseau, Bernard, or Bedford, to be able to attack our offense and stop us from converting those third downs that we've been able to all year?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things you mentioned, his name is Terrell Bernard, was a big piece of what we were missing in the playoffs last year. And so, just having him back, and he's healthy, and he played well in Indy last week. And so having him, because he's kind of you're never going to shut down Travis Kelce, but he's a guy who's good in coverage when it's the Travis Kelce. We have Benford outside, who you can hope that he can lock up D-Hop a little bit. So yeah, I think those guys are going to have a big impact. If I was to give an X factor on defense for us, it's Teron Johnson. He's really, he's our aside from Terrell Bernard, he's really like the leader on the defensive side. He's our all pro level player, and he can kind of do everything. We saw last week with the pick six on the first play, later on in the game with a sack. So he's kind of going to be the guy, I think, that the Bills will look to kind of do everything that we need him to do to shut it down, or to try and stop you guys. But we have a really big problem, I feel like, stopping the run. And so I feel like if there is an issue with us, then it is our run defense. Like even in a game like we did against Indy last week, where if you were to just look at the box score or kind of see how the game was playing, you're like, okay, the Bills dominated that game and they won. Indy got like a garbage time touchdown or whatever the case may be. But Jonathan Taylor still ran for 115 yards against us, And so if you're up against a team like Kansas City, if you give up 115 rushing yards, they'll find ways to turn that into field goals and touchdowns, and not fumble the ball and not throw an interception. When you're letting them gain those yards, they're gonna hurt you doing it. So I do think that that's a big problem for the Bills. But yeah, I think we just need our guys to play their position and not get too outside of themselves and not try and do too much. I feel like sometimes you get in these games and you feel like you got to try and do everything because every play matters. So you're trying to do a little bit too much and you can get caught. And, teams like the Chiefs will scheme, and they'll design plays to benefit from that. And they'll give you a misdirection play or a trick play or something that you'll get caught flat-footed. And those are kind of some of the things that will determine the outcome of a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it's being able to stop that run is an important piece of it. And you guys specifically have had a solid job as far as kind of down success rate is concerned, but necessarily those explosive runs. And that's something we don't really create a lot of explosive rushes, because Kareem Hunt is I'll get you what you block for, and it'll be enough. But I'm not getting you too much more than that person at this stage of his career, of course. We're not going to see Isaiah Pacheco, even though that his window was open up. He's not going to play in this game. But as Bills fans, sorry to cut you off there, but as Bills fans, we still have nightmares of Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing for like 200 yards against us. So we are not buying that. You guys will run the ball all over us. Oh man, that was before Clyde got hurt in that Saints game, man. That game versus you guys in the opening night game versus Texas will always be some classic CEH highlights that we like to go back and watch, man. But along those lines, again, being able to establish that run is important first and foremost, and that's what keeps us on schedule. And really, if you avoid those penalties, then you're going to be in favorable downs and distances. But from my opinion, there's really two ways that you guys can attack, because obviously Matt Milano's not going to play in this game. But from the aspect of using Bernard and using using Benford specifically and Teron Johnson, those are two really good corners, specifically Teron Johnson, really good in the slot. He had the interception, obviously, versus the Colts last week. If you guys can use them to match up man-to-man, which is not something that you guys play a lot of, it's about 17% on the season, if you guys use those guys man-to-man in specific third downs to try and limit with Hopkins and obviously Juju coming back as those chain moving type of zone beating type of guys, if you guys go to those type of change ups and then bracket Kelsey on those downs, I think that's kind of the way that you guys have a formula of getting off of the field on those important third downs. And then the secondary part of it is this. There have been some leaky aspects of our offensive line. Last week, the Broncos did a really good job at finding those mismatches to give us some issues, specifically versus Trey Smith and also the left tackle situation. Like I said, Rousseau's having a really good year. We know Ed Oliver can bring the thunder as well on the inside. Von Miller still can give you pass rush juice off the edge. If you guys can win those matchups up front, then that can wreck any game plan, no matter what the coverage looks like on the back end too. So those are really the two things in which the offense has to avoid.
Yeah, 100%. They say the same thing about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Any of these quarterbacks is, don't rush too far up the field. Keep them in the pocket. And I mean, if Mahomes has a clean pocket, he's going to pick you apart all game. So there is, we do have to crash that, but we also have to be weary of you've mentioned it already, of him escaping the pocket and extending plays with his legs. And people automatically when they say dual threat quarterback, they think of a Lamar Jackson or a Michael Vick. But I almost think that like a quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes is a better dual threat because of when he chooses to use his legs, as opposed to, he's not as fast as those guys, or he's not as agile as those guys for sure. But the times when he does it, it always seems like it's the most important 3rd and 10 and he rushes for 11 yards. He just kind of has that feel of like, okay, he knows how to use his legs better than everybody else, so keeping him in check from that aspect, I think is like you said, I think it's very important.
No, yeah, absolutely. And you speak to it just from the standpoint of using those legs, especially if you're going to play man coverage, because everybody has their back turned to the quarterback in that sense. And that rush lane integrity is key, because if you give Mahomes those opportunities to go get 5 yards on 3rd and 4, 7 yards on 3rd and 6, 11 yards on 3rd and 10, he will go do it and do those things effectively. He is one of the most effective scramblers in NFL history without being an elite athlete, because he has that innate feel for the game and ability really just to get exactly what he needs to really to move the chains as well. Speaking of course, of dual threat quarterbacks, Josh Allen is somebody on the other side that is excellent at both aspects, being able to sit in the pocket and dice teams up, get outside the pocket and still get down the field and dice teams up with his arm, or of course the key things with his legs, whether it's designed or not designed as well. And one of the things specifically when it comes to Bills and Chiefs is always Josh Allen is going to use his legs, maybe even more so than he normally would. There's always some type of highlight of him hurdling some linebacker of ours every single time we play each other, just because he can, and he's insane in being able to do so. But specifically as it pertains to the Bills offense versus this Chiefs defense, obviously you guys are going to be down a few weapons. Keon Coleman, 2nd round wide receiver for you guys, who's played well this season, going to be out. Dalton Kincaid, who's a really standout tight end for you guys, extremely athletic, a guy that's specifically given our weakness on the defense and being able to guard tight ends, I thought would have had a really good matchup this week, is also going to be out. We know Amari Cooper is going to play with, seems like, with a cast on his hand, which will be the first time I've ever seen a wide receiver play with a cast on his hand. Honestly, I've never heard of that, but I'm going to be interested to see how it works out. But that being said, you guys still have weapons to attack us with. Obviously, James Cook out of the backfield, really good running back. We know Josh Allen with his arms and his legs. Ray Davis has been effective backup running back for you guys as well. Dawson Knox, still a tight end that can get some things done. And my personal favorite, I think probably my personal favorite underrated wide receiver in the National Football League, Khalil Shakir. He's a guy that just continues to get open, especially on money downs when people need those outlets to go to. He caught a great touchdown versus L'Jarius Sneed on the scramble drill versus us in the playoffs as well. He's been really important for you guys throughout the season as wide receivers have been in that lineup. So talk to me about what specifically you think is most important for this Bills offense going up against our defense to try and put points on the board and win this game.
Yeah, I think you said his name there at the end. Khalil Shakir is I would agree with you. I think he's one of the most underrated wide receivers in the league. His catch radius or his drop percentage is like he catches like 92% of the balls thrown to him, which leads the league. But also like the next closest wide receiver is 26th on that list. Like he's miles ahead of everybody in catching the ball. And I think just having that ability, because we know that there's going to be every time the Bills and Chiefs play, there's going to be 4 or 5 plays in total that will determine the outcome of the game. So if you have a guy who you can almost guarantee a catch, and it's an important part of the game, an important drive, or a drive where you need to get a first down and maybe get yourself into field goal position to win the game, kind of thing. Having a sure-handed wide receiver like that is really, really important. So for sure, I think Khalil Shakir is kind of going to be our key player this week. And I mean, when it comes to the Bills offense, everybody knows it flows through Allen, and we kind of just all sit and hold our breath and kind of watch the games like this as he's scrambling around there, and we're like, okay, don't make a dumb play, and then you see him launch the ball, and you're like, oh, what are you doing? And then it's caught, and so then you can cheer. So it's a whole roller coaster, but yeah, I think the connection that he can get, but if they can establish Allen to Shakir early and often in the game, I think it bodes well for the Bills.
No, yeah, absolutely. And this is one of those things where I think our early downs, you guys have done a really good job of using, whether it is James Cook or Ray Davis, primarily Cook, and Josh Allen's legs to really establish a floor and efficiency from that standpoint. Using a little bit of RPOs that have been implemented within your system as well, to have you guys be on schedule as well and get to those third downs where Josh Allen can go out there and make a play and get the job done as well. And when you talk about Khalil Shakir, I wonder how much Trent McDuffie is going to end up seeing that matchup specifically. I think that it's a better matchup than what Cortland Sutton presents because of the size and physicality from that standpoint. But again, Shakir is a guy that continues to get open and continues to make catches when the ball is thrown to him. That's a heck of a combination for a wide receiver to have. It's a safety blanket to rely upon again. And how much Dawson Knox could try and take advantage of some of our safety and linebacker coverage issues right now. The biggest thing for me on our Chiefs defense side is, can we get a pass rush with 4? Because sending extra guys against Josh Allen, it's one of those volatile kind of gash or B-gash types of ways to live as well. He can get you down the field. You guys have some guys that can have the ability to create things after the catch as well, whether it's Curtis Samuel or Khalil Shakir for that matter as well. We have to be wary of those things. If you can get home with 4, then it's a little bit different. But you guys have a really good offensive line, and our pass rush with 4 has not necessarily shown up. Chris Jones has been his normal dominant self and demands double teams on every single down, but we haven't had other guys really step up to take advantage of those one-on-ones. And that's something that I'm going to be watching not only in this game, but just for the back half of the season. If Karlaftis can get to where he ended the year last year, if Tershawn Wharton can get back to where he started the year this year, if you can get more from Felix and Duke Uzama on the other side, can Dana get back a little bit as well? And we traded for Josh Uche to see if he can give us something off the edge. And so we got to find those one-on-one matchup beaters right now along the front 4 to give us the opportunity to get after quarterbacks and not have to send extra guys. So that's a major thing that I'm going to be watching from that standpoint. But of course, you can get pressure with 4 against Josh Allen, and sometimes it doesn't even matter because he's that good of a quarterback, to say the least.
Yeah, we were all watched. What was it? The Philly game, not the Thursday night, the last Sunday, and we're like, do not show Josh Allen that highlight of Saquon doing the reverse hurdle. We don't need him. We don't need him trying that. Okay. Do not let Josh Allen see that. We do not need that.
See, that's the funny thing. You're concerned about your quarterback seeing that. I'm concerned about Isaiah Pacheco trying that when he gets back, because he was on our team that would try and reverse hurdle somebody, which I think is probably a one-of-one thing that only Saquon Barkley as a human being as well. So the other thing I did want to ask specifically before we got to, kind of talking about the best bets and things of that nature is specifically as it pertains to your offense, the secondary pass catcher. Obviously, we know Shakir is going to be a major guy. We know Knox is going to get some targets because he's been a solid tight end for you and has the best matchup. You guys signed Curtis Samuel. You guys have Mike Collins, who also brought over. Who do you think probably between those two or anybody else that you feel like is really going to step up from a receiving standpoint for Josh Allen to rely upon on those money downs?
So we'll talk about it when we cover the best bets part, but I think this is a Dawson Knox kind of game. It almost feels like he has a better connection with Josh Allen than Kincaid does. Kincaid is just a more athletic, kind of better tight end, if you will. So that's why we go to him more. But anytime Allen has targeted Knox, it seems like it's been a positive play for the Bills, and they just kind of seem like they're always on the same page, probably because of years that they've been together. So for me in particular, it has to be Dawson Knox to step up, and kind of get back to his the ways before Kincaid was on our team, and he was more of a featured tight end. But he's going to be important to us regardless of if it's catching or if it's run blocking, because he's a good blocking tight end as well. So he needs to have a good game all around in all aspects of what a tight end does in order for us to have success on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you don't have to tell me about the kind of mind meld that's important between the quarterback and tight end. Obviously, it's something that we've witnessed here for a very long time, and certainly the experience that Knox has with Josh Allen will certainly help on Sunday as well. So speaking of course, getting into best bets for this specific game, I'll let you go ahead and start us off. As you hinted at, you feel like this is going to be a Dawson Knox game.
Yeah. So I was just scrolling on my FanDuel. I was about to place because I saw Dawson Knox, the over under was 2.5 receptions. So for me, I would hammer the over there. I think he's getting at least 5-6 catches this game, because like you said, we have Coleman out. Amari is a maybe, and if he is playing, it's with a cast on his hand. So like if we are throwing the ball, it's to Shakir or to Knox, and Allen's going to throw the ball 20 some times. So I think Knox is going to get lots of targets at least. So for me, I hammer the over on Knox at 2.5 receptions. And then the other one that I had was James Cook over 57.5 rushing yards. I think, like we said, we're going to use the run game to kind of keep us on schedule. That's going to be our first and second down, is going to be some run plays. And, you hope by the end of the game that it starts breaking down the defense a little bit, and you start getting those chunk 10, 12-yard rushes. So those would be my two bets for the week, was to take over on James Cook at 57 and Knox over 2.5 catches.
Yeah, I don't blame you for either one of those. And I'm kind of honestly along the same lines as far as the tight end and running back. I think this is kind of that type of game. Personally speaking, I think that Noah Gray is a guy that's always been important to us. I think that you guys are going to crash really hard to try and stop things as far as the early down rush is concerned. And I think that's going to open up some things as far as Noah Gray specifically as we get into our heavy 12 personnel set look. So right now he's at 16.5 as far as the FanDuel receiving line is concerned. I'm going to take the over on that one as well. And then you talk about the rushing yards. I think we will be able to run the ball. It may not be there early, but I think it will be late, as we kind of were able to wear down the Broncos team in the second half as well. I think we'll have some opportunities to do so as well. To the Bills, Kareem Hunt's at 61.5 rushing yards. I think he'll get over on that from that standpoint. So I think that we'll have some interesting games, some interesting, I should say, rushing and tight end production from both sides as well in this game. So all that's left right now is to go ahead and pick the game as well. I'll start it out. I will say first and foremost, with my head, before the season, I had this circled as a loss. Again, you play the win-loss game with your schedule going through it when it releases and stuff. So I had this circled as a loss going on the road as a team, again, that is really good. I expect it to be really good. And again, it's a team that also usually has our number in the regular season as far as that's concerned. But with my heart, I think that this is a game in which we can run the ball. I think we can convert some of those third downs. And I think this defense is going to give some points to you guys, but give it our ball control. And maybe we get 1 to 2 turnovers in which we're able to kind of get off the field, whether it's on downs or, specifically taking the ball away, in which we have maybe an inaccurate pass here or there versus Josh Allen. That gives the opportunity, the advantage to be able to win this game. So I'm going to go 27-24 Chiefs personally with my heart over my head in this case. I'll let you go ahead and give your score prediction too.
So no surprise, I'm picking the Bills to win. I had the Bills winning. I said 27-24 would be my score prediction. I think it's one of the bets I would also take is the over of 46.5 total. I think we'll get over that score total. But yeah, I kind of see it the same. It's going to be a tough, it's going to be a tough battle. It's going to be a battle in the trenches kind of thing too. And who can kind of push the other team around a little bit more, So I like our offensive line. I think our offensive line has been really great for us this year. And I just see with the resurgence, we'll call it resurgence of Tyler Bass after hitting the 61-yard field goal a couple weeks ago, we now kind of have that faith in our kicking game again. And if it comes down to it, I see a game-winning field goal for Tyler Bass.
All right. Sounds good. Look, I'm not going to say the 2 words. I'm just going to not say them, okay? Out of respect for you, Ben, I'm not going to say them. We obviously have a new kicker, so I'm praying that he just doesn't miss any extra points. But obviously, I got us winning 27.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
So,
yeah.
We have to make some field goals to get within a range because we can't rely on Harrison Butker's range. We gotta have normal human being range for specific games. Hopefully for us, we can mitigate some issues as far as the kicking game is concerned. I guess for both of us in that case, we're hoping given how the playoff game ended, man. But once again, Ben, thank you so much for joining me. It was a lot of fun. Again, this is one of those games that you circle on the calendar. I'm extremely excited. You sit down, you're watching this game from start to finish. If you're not checking out Red Zone, you can do that. You can check out all the other stuff later on. It's just about this game right now on Sunday. Between Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, 2 continual class of their division teams, and we'll see what ends up happening as well. Once again, thank you. I'm looking forward to have you back on probably later on. Like I told you the first time, I'm sure we'll have another really good Bills matchup to preview, and it may end up in January too. Go ahead and anything you want to go ahead and get off before we get out of here.
No, man. Thanks a lot for having me. It's always a pleasure. And yeah, I think we touched on it at the beginning, but this is kind of like the history between these 2 teams is kind of keeps growing and growing. And, I think it's fun to be a part of something like that. As a Bills fan who missed the playoffs for 20 some years in a row, you can kind of, and you saw the Brady versus Manning whole thing play out. You're like, man, it would have been cool to be a part of that. And now we kind of get to see, that happening between these 2 teams. And as much as we hate you guys, and, I'm sure the feeling is mutual, it's still fun to watch. It's still fun. It's still must-see TV, and it's still something you get up and get ready for. So, yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. And yeah, anytime you need someone to talk Bills talk, I'm here for you.
Absolutely appreciate it. You're absolutely right. It's fun to now have these matchups to talk about with our own teams in this moment as well, in which you have quarterbacks that can stand the test of time, that are all-time guys from that aspect too. So appreciate you once again for coming on. And with that, man, that's Mac's Marquee matchup for Week 11. Once again, make sure to come back here to check out on Sosa's World. We're going to have the, obviously our normal streaming schedule for previewing the games as well. Check out playbacktv.sosa. Make sure you check out myself at DMac Wake 316 for more Chiefs coverage. Make sure you check out the MafiaMembersPod for Ben over there as well for more Bills coverage. We'll be back here for Week 12, man. Looking forward to it. Enjoy the game today. Have a lot of fun, man. Peace out. Thank you once again, Ben.